Good afternoon. It's about a quarter after noon, so I'm going to say good afternoon. Welcome on another walk with me. Kind of liking these nature walks. Hope you guys are out there enjoying some nature time too. I can't express enough just how much healing is involved in just spending time in nature, you know? But I'm wearing red today. Today is a root day. The root chakra is at the base of the spine. It's also where you hold the root of your seeds, okay? Remember I talked in the previous video that energy is granules of seed that is planted in your soil. Seeds that you plant in your own soil and seeds that you receive from other people that is planted in your soil. And sometimes we have to cultivate that soil and turn up those seeds, or if they've grown, uproot the plant, okay? But I wanted to get to the root of things, all right? In our root chakra, we hold both our security and our insecurity. We hold our confidence and our doubts, our beliefs of limitations of failure and success, opportunity and lack, or scarcity, believing life is out to get you rather than out to support you, okay? We form attachments, identities, don social masks, and we've done them unconsciously for some type of survival in us, where we might have resonated that we didn't like the feelings, so we created an identity in ourselves, in our root system, okay, our root chakra, that we might feel a sense of appreciation, acceptability among social crowds, peers, colleagues, work environment, family, you know, home environment. A lot of your conditioning of soil comes from those earlier points in life, as you're growing and you're maturing into the person you are today, okay? And whether you are a 10-year-old, teenager, young adult, 20s, 30s, 40s, you name it, you're always growing. You are always expanding. You are always expressing yourself. You are always experiencing all that life has to offer you, okay? But let's talk about that root system a little bit, okay? When we experience life, we have our ups and downs, kind of like a wavelength. It goes up and down, right? You would never really be able to appreciate the up without experiencing the down, okay? Well, that's just silly. Like, why can't life be always shiny rainbows, a comfortable 70-degree weather with a light, subtle breeze, showering us with bliss, right? When you're in bliss, you're in a state of absolute compassion, absolute love, absolute forgiveness, absolute peace, calm, stillness. But we endure what's called cycles, okay? Cycles of seasons, cycles of storms, okay? Storms aren't meant to give you an identification of detriment, of fear, of insecurity or doubt. Those storms are meant to cultivate out of you your uniqueness, okay? How you show up in the world today, how you interact with your environment and other people, how you present your words, and how you deliver your energy, because energy is like a boomerang. You send it out, it's coming back, right? Energy always returns back to the source. Energy that's not yours and you absorb into your soil, into your root system, your chakra, and we hold on to it. We form a bond to it, an attachment, right? And in that, it serves a purpose. It served a purpose for a given moment of time. But that plant of energy may be having some problems with your unique alignment, okay? And you gotta take your root tool and uproot the plant, all right? You gotta dig deep. You gotta get to the root of the problems, right? You go to a doctor, they give you a rendering based on their technology, their instruments, and they give you a surface level prognosis of what you might be experiencing, okay? Because they've been taught through textbook knowledge, educational formats, that if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's got to be a duck, right? Couldn't be possibly anything else. Well, if you've lived in life for a while, you know that's not true. You know there's always more possibilities. That's why we get second opinions. That's why we get third opinions. Hell, sometimes we even get fourth opinions because we didn't like the first three opinions, right? If something resonates with you and you are experiencing an unwellness, whether it's psychological, emotional, physiologically, there's a root cause, okay? And that root cause is a germination of seed that is out of alignment with your unique self. And it's going to require you to do some internal work. It's going to require you to surrender the idea of providing a pharmaceutical for a temporary relief, because that's all you're going to receive is a temporary relief. And that synthetic blend that is created in a pharmaceutical lab is a synthetic blend. And when you put synthetic into your body, that is a natural entity, you're going to experience complications because you're putting something that's not natural into a natural environment, okay? But let's get to the chakra. Let's get to the root. The root chakra is closely associated with the color red. You could have different shades of red. You could have the shades of a lighter color of red. You can have a darker shade of red. Some that might be gifted in seeing auricular colors or seeing an aura around you. They interpret the state of being of energy that you are at presently. And if you are emitting that color, it's because you are in that frequency of that alignment of that energy that they are able to pick up. Empathic people who are very sensitive to energetic fluctuations, wavelengths, will pick up on it. And sometimes they're not even aware of it, but they might reflect back to you what you are holding within yourself, okay? Because people do what's called mirroring. They mirror the energy back to you, even beyond their own conscious awareness. But what are you holding on to that might be stepping in the way of your progress? That it's popped up, but you just can't seem to let it go. You can't seem to separate yourself from the attachment of that thing, okay? Is it fear? Do you give rise to excuses to allow fear to exist in you? Does fear exist in you? That is something that you have to dig deep in your soil to unearth, okay? What about doubt? Do you doubt your capabilities? Do you doubt your power? Do you doubt your energy? Do you doubt that you are able to rise to a challenge that comes into your life, experiences, so that you may grow through the challenge, grow through the dirt, just like a plant does, grow through the challenge and rise in elevation, okay? If our root chakra system is imbalanced, we may experience unwellness in our legs, our pelvic region. We could also experience it in different areas of our body, of the upper part, because we have a meridian. A meridian is like a grid throughout your body, connected with dots. And each one of the dots is, if you ever study acupressure points, each one of the dots is an acupressure point that is interconnected to another aspect, okay? That's why when you feel something in your root system, your mind is activated as well. Your emotion is activated as well, because it's all interconnected, okay? What about insecurity? Do you have fear that if I don't perform this task, or if I don't become this person that is appreciated and accepted, will I lose something or lose someone? Sometimes we form an attachment and a bond to the corporeal person because we're afraid of being alone. We're afraid of never finding another person, or never finding someone that actually complements our life, that actually aids us in support in building ourselves up, you know? Those ideas are conditions. It's a conditioning of your soil, of the seeds that are planted in your root system. Pop a squat. Sit below a tree. Sit on some turf grass. Sit on some at a nature park. As you sit down, you are literally connecting with the earth, and you are grounding yourself to the earth and allowing the energy that is fluctuating in you to go into the earth. All right. Some people call it Mother Earth. Some people call it Gaia. Some people call it nature's receipt. Okay. When you give energy, you get a receipt, right? But sometimes when we are exchanging our energy with people, we often get a receipt of energy that isn't for our well-being. And we don't notice it in the moment. We don't notice the energy coming in all the time. And it gets under subconscious awareness into our soil. And we have daily due diligence to cultivate a practice of mindset, to clear that soil. Remove those weeds that is choking off the life energy, the living energy that is in our system, in our root system. And we end up experiencing complications. We end up experiencing a decline of health status, okay? In whatever form that may look like. You ever get told from a doctor that because you have a genealogy of, or parents, grandparents historically had some kind of medical issue, and that it's most likely going to be through you. Well, you end up forming an attachment, an identity, and a bond to that prognosis. And then you start living your life in that identity, not becoming well, but stuck in that patternization because you were rendered an energetic signature in which someone in an authoritative position, or at least you felt comfortable enough to see them in an authoritative position because of their years of schooling, etc., and you absorbed that energy. And that energy became now a part of your identity. And anytime that you see something else in the external factor, you compound that same energy. When you send out a negative vibe of energy that's closely associated to that, that negative energy, that non-living energy, metastasizes into a larger growth, right? Eating the healthy, the living energy in its domain. And it starts eating, kind of like, you ever see the game Pac-Man, where it's going like this, chomp, chomp, chomp to the ghosts, but you can only eat the ghosts when you eat the fruit, the power pebble, in order to eat them. But it has a duration, a time format, that once it starts blinking, you know that they're going to turn back to regular ghosts, and now you have to run away from the ghosts, otherwise your Pac-Man ends up losing a life, right? So what do you think in your life experiences that you are facing today, in your root system, do you feel maybe is time to let go, time to release the attachment, time to rewrite the story and identity that you have absorbed into yourself into a higher vibration? Yes, you can heal any aspect of you just by rewriting the narrative, okay? Rewrite it into a higher vibrational energetic form, and you give it life. You give it living energy. When you breathe, are you mindful of your breath as you are taking in your breath and you're drawing it in? Are you bringing it down to your root system and letting that energy, that healing, living, oxygenated energy permeate your soil to give it life vibrancy? Or are you kind of shallow breathing in your mouth and just going through a pattern behavior of, this is me breathing, etc., etc.? You see how my composure has changed, how my demeanor has changed. When you breathe and you draw it all the way down, holding it there for about 3 to 4 seconds, letting that air really cycle through, and then release. You are releasing all the energy that had become broken up in blockages that you've held, identities that you were storing in your root system, and you're releasing it for it to be transmuted into higher energy. And if it's your source energy, it's going to come back in a higher format. If it's someone else's energy, it's going to return back to them in a higher compassionate format, in a higher love capacity, because you took the responsibility and ownership while you held on to that energy and chose through a mindful action to transmute it into a higher capacity. It's used its purpose. It's served its purpose. It's no longer serving a good purpose. You now release it and give the indication and intention for it to transform into a higher vibrational energy. As you do this and you continue practicing this, right, for your own well-being and the well-being of other people, you send healing energy out of you to other people, regardless if you know where that energy came from. Trust in the process. I promise you, you will see life in a different way. There's no overthinking. There's no critically understanding. There is no deductive reasoning. There's just do. You don't experience anything until you do, right? Well, I've done this and I've done this and I've done this and I keep failing and keep failing and keep failing. Well, how do you hold the definition of failure in yourself? Is it your definition, or is it the definition that you received a rendering of energy from someone else or something else that has given you the inclination that you are to respond this way when you have hit an aspect of failure? What if I told you the failure that you experience, it isn't a roadblock. It's a success in understanding what does and does not work well for your unique self. No one can come in and teach you what works best for you, except for how you vibrate, how you resonate with it, right? I have a plethora of modalities. They call them modalities. I could say a file cabinet of different practices, different mindfulness of acts, dedicated and disciplined daily practices, right? And I don't do the same practice several hours a day. I will change it up. When I feel in my body resonates, hey, I'm good on this, let's shift to another thing. I'm going to shift to another thing. Why? Because I'm turning inward and listening to my internal self more than I'm listening to my external voice or the external noise that comes in as chatter. And that chatter is kind of like that static on an old TV system. And I understand for the younger generation, they may not be aware of it. But that older generation, they used to have a TV, and at certain times, broadcasting would get shut off, and it would be pixelated, kind of like snowy channel. There was no clear picture. You couldn't tune into the frequency because the frequency was shut off beyond your control, right? But you have the power and control to tune into your own energetic frequencies. And you can enlighten what is living or what is non-living but existing within yourself. When you do that and you take appropriate action in a mindful way to render a higher love, conducive manner of energy, you change the game for yourself. You change what experiences come into your life. The people around you start seeing the changes that happen in you, okay? Because you are expressing them out of you. When you are communicating with people, you are communicating with them in a loving capacity, in a compassionate capacity, not a condemnation or telling them that their opinion is wrong or that their idea should be, what's a good word for this? I would say judged, yeah. Persecuted. Persecuted for exempling an experience before you to give you an idea if this is an experience that you want more of, or do you want something different? You want a different experience. That all starts within you. You have cameras. You observe you're with yourself. You are absorbing, recording, experiencing. And you're also holding on to things that isn't your energy to hold on to. Whether it's come down through genealogy, whether it's come through close relations, familial ties, familiarity, When I say that, that word comes from a root term called family. And in family, you can choose who you allow into your family tree, right? And in that family tree, you have leaves of attachment, you have a body, and you have a root system. And sometimes in that root system, if there is more out of alignment of unhealthiness in that root system, that tree's going to topple over, right? There's no coming back from it, right? But if you woke up today, you have power and you have opportunity to cultivate your soil and release in a loving, conducive manner to yourself and others of that energy that you have stored and held on to that no longer serves a positive purpose. When you release that and you focus an intention of transmuting that energy into a higher vibrational state, man, you're going to experience life completely different. I promise you that. You can quote me to this day, put it on your calendar, and I guarantee you, you're going to come back. You're going to say, I didn't believe it, but I had to get out of my own way and just do. When I just put down the ego and I just did, things started shifting. Identity started shifting. My beliefs started shifting. The ideas of limitation started shifting. And I'm going to say it's because you made the change in you. I just provided input. I provided knowledge. I provided resources and tools. But you did the work. Celebrate your win. Doesn't matter if it's a small change or a large change. Celebrate your work that you do within yourself. Okay? And more will come in. More will keep coming in. And you will see how abundant life is of the like energy that you are pouring out. As you pour out, boomerang effect. More comes back in. You make space. If you're holding on to stuff, you can't make space for more newness to come in. You got to release. Release what doesn't serve you in the highest capacity of your highest well-being. Okay? I love you guys. Be well. Be well. Be well.